Hi, this is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com's DevOps TV at DOES San Francisco 2016. Happy to be joined fresh off of their presentation where they made a number of great announcements we're going to jump into. First of all, a friend of DevOps.com, who if you've ever watched our videos, listened to our webinars, podcast, you already know, the one and the only Rosalind Radcliffe. Didn't mess that up.
You got it right this time.
And we're joined, Rosalind is joined by her co-presenter today, Rich. Well, we get Mark. Rich Jackson.
Correct.
And Rich, you're with Walmart.
Yes.
Okay.
Systems engineer with Walmart.
Fantastic. So, Rich and Rosalind, big announcements today, multiple big announcements today. Why don't we peel them off one at a time? Why don't you go first, Rich?
Okay. So we've been developing some API-driven services that run on ZOS. We've also been kind of working with the community on a similar approach, trying to kind of drive practice forward, right? And we've generated, I think, a little bit of interest in the model and as well as our services. And we finally got approval last week that we're going to open source 3 of our services.
Great.
Put them on GitHub. So for any enterprises that would like to get them and use them, contribute to them, they'll be there.
That's fantastic. So Rich, my first question is, look, an organization like Walmart, how hard was it to get their approval to donate to the open source community, stuff they paid you to work on?
So if this discussion would have happened, 5 years ago, it would have never happened. Right? But we as an organization, particularly a technology organization, have really opened up a lot. And at this point, we've opened up our basically our PaaS solution. We've got OneOps that we open sourced from our Walmart labs in California. We've got a React framework that we open source. We've got a few little small things. So Walmart as a whole, and particularly technology, has become much more open the last few years to community involvement, right? That's, people want to work in an environment like that, and Walmart recognizes that, I think, and it's one way to attract talent to participate in that type of community.
And it just goes to show you, though, that no matter how big the organization, no matter what may have happened before and after, times are a-changing, right? And
yep.
and everyone, I think, recognizes the model of we're all in it together kind of thing, and learning from each other and cooperation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a refreshing story.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
good
refreshed
for you guys.
by it as well.
Okay.
Gives me a new sense of
Ms. Radcliffe, what kind of big announcements from IBM did we have today?
Well, so it's an interesting one. Since they need to post the source to GitHub, they're in EBCDIC. So ZOS, our source code, is still in EBCDIC and is going to be, so it needs a different code page. And Git doesn't support code page tagging, and so we've been working with Rocket Software, and Rocket Software is going to make available a version of Git that runs on ZOS and supports code page tagging. And so you'll be able to run it on ZOS, put the code page tagging in, push your code to GitHub, and when it's in GitHub, it'll be in ASCII or UTF-8 just like you want it to be, but when it gets cloned down to a ZOS system, it'll come out in EBCDIC just like you need it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So Rocket Software did this with you, I assume, in conjunction with IBM.
We worked with Rocket to make sure they got all the code page tagging right, because they were doing the port. They do a lot of ports to ZOS and have ported tools. But in this case, we needed a little bit more than a port, so we worked with them to provide them information on what we needed from an EBCDIC standpoint support. And so you can do ASCII, because sometimes you want ASCII on Z, and you can do EBCDIC. It just depends on the kind of source you're doing. And so this will make it possible for anyone to use Git for ZOS software from the standpoint of a software SEM. Yeah. We still got work to do. We need to build a dependency-based build system that can understand COBOL and assembler and support Git and Jenkins and all the other tools. And so that's something we're working on now and are looking for users to help us with.
Spoken as a true engineer, Rosalind. There's always something else to do.
Yeah.
But before we get on to the something else, let's just take a moment to smell the coffee here about the accomplishment of what this is, right? This allows all Z System users, not just Walmart, to use sort of what's become industry standard tools now. It's like Git as a repository, as a repo, and that's huge.
Yeah, we absolutely need to keep the Z environment to be a modern development environment. I mean, it's a modern platform, so why not use modern tools to develop for it?
And the other thing is, frankly, the whole idea behind having a repo is kind of crushed when you got to use multiple repos, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Because then they're not repos; they're just
parts.
right.
Well, and it really does. I mean, Git's there to support code sharing, and if we want to be part of this code sharing environment, we need to be there.
Yeah. So Rich, I've seen Walmart now. You know, I think Walmart was at the very first DOS. It was Walmart Labs, which I recognize as a separate unit within Walmart, or was back then.
Right,
maybe.
we've kind of merged.
Yep. And again, to me, it also, you know, we see we see retail having such a heavy presence here. Target, Nordstrom's, in the past we've had Macy's, Walmart multiple times, and others. And, you know, and I've spoken to people about this. Why is retail such a DevOps hotbed, right? Some people say, well, they got to compete with Amazon. Well, maybe. That's right.
One piece.
That's one piece of it. But I think there's more to the reason why we see retail having sort of leading the charge in DevOps. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on it.
You know, I'm no expert. I'm not over at the home office. You know, I'm over in the tech side, which has some relevance. But I think at the end of the day, really what it is following the consumer, right? The world's changing fast, mostly due to technology, right? You have web, mobile, and just it's so integrated into everyone's lives now. And retailers, I guess particularly large retailers, have to be able to adapt very quickly to wherever the market's going, right? I've told people in the past, I use to an analogy compared to myself serving developers. It's the same thing with Walmart and customers. You know, Walmart doesn't get to dictate what a customer needs or wants, right? We have to anticipate what they need and want and be there when they need and want it. And I think you know, the desired outcomes of following a DevOps model is really what the retailers are looking for, just that ability to respond quickly and protect our reputational asset through quality, right? And those types of things. It really comes down to following the customer, I think, is ultimately what's driving it.
I think there might be another perspective, though, as an outsider looking in, like your example on the stage, inventory management, trying to make sure you do the right thing, have the inventory at the right time, small batch sizes. The retailers do DevOps, lean, every day in the real world.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right.
That is their real world.
Their business practices.
Their business practices actually follow this. So you know, it kind of makes sense that IT would follow the same thing. So they maybe have an advantage actually, because their business already understands this.
They're taking business practices and applying it to IT.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just ran across, doing some research, well related to this presentation. I was researching a few key points and ran across an old article. It was probably 15 years old, and described what we do with our supply chain as continuous improvement.
Yep.
Right. So.
And that goes right to sort of like what John Willis talks about when we talk about Toyota, lean principles on the assembly line lending themselves to IT. But I thought you were going to say something else, Rosalind, and that is, it's because of tool vendors like IBM who recognize that these retailers are using Z systems, they're using Big Iron, they're using, you know, what some may consider older technology, but that doesn't mean we can't make that technology fresh and allow them to apply these new rules of business, these new ways of doing things, right? The old dog learns new tricks.
Well, I think from that perspective, we have been doing everything we possibly can to make Z, in a sense, just look like a big server with better qualities of service, but it's just a big server, and it shouldn't be different. And everything we're trying to do is to make it not look different. And it probably, I mean, it's the community telling us that, it's the community telling us stop making it different. I mean, I've been working in the space of development for a while, trying to build tools that are platform agnostic, because that's what I think. We've got to be platform agnostic. We've got to do development no matter what. But that's actually expanded across the portfolio more to get us to understand that across the whole systems management space, operations, everything needs to be less different.
Yeah.
It needs to be only different because it has a quality of service that's different. So there are some differences under the covers, but the more we can get rid of those differences, your ability to do software defined everything so you can deploy the service just on the fly, I mean, you don't have to go get another appliance or go get another piece of hardware, or it's just there and you can define it. Those kinds of things need to be applied across the board, and we're trying to make that easier.
I would add to that too, and I guess just kind of point out the technology versus the culture around the technology, right? And someone even yesterday said, the technology is the easy part. I'm not worried about that, but some of these older technologies that you mentioned, probably the bigger problem tends to be the culture around that technology, right? I know in my experience, there's a significant faction of the mainframe community that's highly risk averse, resistant to change, and those types of things. So I think that's really the problem, the key problem that has to be addressed. I mean, I could take a ZOS back leveled by 5 years and still do some of the cool things we're doing today. So the technology wasn't, I have to make some accommodations because of the differences, but it's the people that really have to be worked on.
And that's a real DevOps lesson as well, right? It is the people, it is the culture. Anyway, guys, we're about out of time. We're probably over time, but it's okay. They don't pay me by the minute. Anyway, guys, first of all, congratulations on the work, right? Congratulations on the announcement. Congratulations on really helping to not only join but lead the community. IBM's doing a great job keeping Z Systems relevant and on top of their game, and you're a big part of that.
Thank you.
We're going to wrap it. We've got Rich Jackson, Walmart, Rosalind Radcliffe, IBM. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com's DevOps TV.